Why does the world die every winter? Why do the leaves fall, the air turn to ice, and the earth itself seem to hold its breath? This is not a story about weather. It's a story about an abduction, a deal, and a mother's grief so powerful it could starve the very gods. Come, sit by the hearth and let the tale begin.
Dad, why does it get dark so early now? I hate it when the world gets so cold and dead.
Our ancient ancestors wanted the same thing. They watched the world die every year and were terrified it wouldn't come back. They needed a story to explain the cycle of life, death, and renewal, of the balance between dark and light. And so, they told the tale of the goddess Persephone and her grieving mother Demeter. But history is written by the survivors. In the case of Persephone, history was written by her mother. We're told it was a kidnapping, a tragedy, a helpless young girl stolen by a monster and tricked into damnation. But ask yourself this: if you were the goddess of life, trapped in a cage of golden light, and the king of silence offered you the keys to the universe, would you really need to be tricked into taking them? In the beginning, there was no winter. The world was a paradise of eternal, sun-drenched summer, and for this, mankind thanked Demeter, the great goddess of the harvest. She was a kind and generous god, and her hands made the corn ripen to gold and the fruit grow heavy on the bough. The world was perfect, almost too perfect. It was the age of eternal summer. No leaves fell, no flowers wilted. It was a world of blinding, relentless joy ruled by Demeter. Demeter's singular joy was her daughter, Persephone. She was the maiden of spring, a girl of such gentle, innocent beauty that flowers literally bloomed in her footsteps. Her mother guarded her, loved her, and saw in her all the goodness of a world that had not yet learned what it meant to be cold. But Demeter wasn't just a mother, she was a force of nature. She called Persephone Kore, the maiden. Not a name, a title, a function. "Stay close, Kore," she would say, brushing the hair from Persephone's eyes. "The world is sharp. I am the only soft place. Stay in the light." Persephone was a goddess, but she was treated like a glass doll. She spent her days weaving crowns of flowers that never died, surrounded by nymphs who never stopped giggling. She was drowning in sunlight. She was bored, and she was desperate for a shadow. But Persephone was watched not just by her mother, but from below. Hades, the lonely king of the Underworld, lord of all that was, had seen her. While his brothers, Zeus and Poseidon, ruled the bright sky and the wild sea, he ruled the vast, dark, silent kingdom of the dead. Now, Hades was not a monster. He was a bureaucrat. He was the eldest brother of Zeus, but he had drawn the short straw. While Zeus played king in the clouds and Poseidon raged in the sea, Hades was stuck in the basement of the universe, filing the paperwork of the dead. He was the wealthiest god in existence. Every vein of gold, every diamond belonged to him. But he was spiritually bankrupt. His palace was silent. His subjects were memories. He had no one to talk to who had blood in their veins. He watched Persephone from the shadows. He didn't just see a pretty girl. He saw someone else who was trapped in a role she didn't ask for. He saw the way she looked at the horizon when her mother wasn't watching. He fell in love not with her innocence, but with her restlessness. And so, as he watched from his dark throne, gazing longingly at her, the living, breathing image of the sun-drenched world he could not have, he decided that he would have her. He must have her. Hades went to her father, the mighty Zeus, and made his demand. And Zeus, the king of all gods, gave his permission. That's the ugly truth of it. The father sold the daughter to keep the peace with his brother. That's how feared Hades was, even in Olympus. One day, as Persephone wandered afield far from her mother, she was drawn to a strange flower she had never seen. A single, dark, and impossibly beautiful narcissus. It was a lure, planted by the earth itself. As she reached forward to pluck it for herself, the illusion of safety shattered. The ground groaned, then the earth itself tore open. A great black chasm split the sunny meadow. This wasn't a magical sparkle, it was a violent tectonic breach. Hades didn't romance her. He erupted from the darkness in his black iron chariot. Before she could even draw a breath to scream, he seized her, pulling her down. For Persephone, this wasn't a seduction. It was terror. One moment, warm sun. The next, the smell of sulfur, the crushing grip of a stranger, and the terrifying sensation of falling. Her last terrified cry was a single word, "Mother!" A cry that was swallowed by the darkness. But Demeter was 3 hills away admiring the wheat. By the time her mother arrived, there was nothing, just a field of dying flowers and a scar in the earth already closing.
He just took her? Didn't anyone stop him?
That, my dear, is the darkest part of the tale. Someone let him. Her own father, Zeus, had simply looked the other way while his own daughter was abducted. Demeter had gone mad. Her cry of loss was a sound that broke the sky. She tore the crown of wheat from her hair, her scream echoing from the mountains. For 9 days and 9 nights she wandered, her 2 great torches cutting through a world that no longer knew her. She didn't know her daughter was being offered a kingdom. She only knew her daughter was gone. She wandered the earth like a beggar, screaming at the sky. Her grief was not a quiet weeping thing. It was a fury, an incandescent, white-hot rage that declared, "If my world is empty, then all worlds will be." And the green, lush world heard her, and it answered in despair. The wheat in the fields did not just wither, it blackened with a sudden frost. The grapes on the vine turned to mush. The air, once warm and sweet with pollen, became thin and sharp, stinging the lungs. Demeter had turned her back on the earth, and in her shadow, the first winter began. But it wasn't what we know as winter. This was an extinction event, an ice age. The crops rotted, the rivers froze solid. Humanity began to starve. The prayers of the dying rose up to Olympus like black smoke, choking Zeus on his throne. It was a power play of galactic proportions. Demeter held the whole world hostage and said, "Bring her back, or everyone dies." And where was Persephone? She was in the Underworld. The shock of the sun's light had been replaced by a soft silver gloom. The smell of flowers was gone, replaced by the scent of damp earth and something ancient and cold. After the noise of the surface world, the silence of the underworld hits you like a physical blow. No birds, no wind. just the endless shuffling echo of souls. Persephone expected torture. She expected a dungeon. Instead, she was given a palace the size of a city. At first, she refused to speak for days. She refused to eat. Then she wept, begging to be returned. She huddled in the dark, waiting for the sun god to save her, waiting for her mother. But Hades had not taken her to be a prisoner. He had taken her to be his wife. Hades didn't force her. He didn't touch her. He simply sat. He sat on the steps of her room and read scrolls. He brought her jewels and she threw them at the wall. He brought her wine and she poured it on the floor. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was raspy from screaming. "Why?" she asked. "Why me?" Hades looked at her with ancient, tired eyes. "Because," he said, "you are the only thing in the universe that is truly alive, and I was tired of being cold." Now, hunger is a powerful motivator, but for Persephone, curiosity was far stronger. She began to explore her cage, and she quickly realized it wasn't a cage, it was an empire. She walked the banks of the river Styx. She saw the judges of the dead deciding the fates of kings and beggars. She saw that here, in the dark, there were no lies. Death stripped away all pretense. She began to talk to Hades, not as a captive, but as a critic. "Your system is flawed," she told him one day, watching the queue of souls. "You punish the wicked, but offer no comfort to the forgotten." Hades looked at her, surprised. "What would you do?" "I would build a paradise for the good," she said. "Elysium." Hades didn't laugh. He didn't dismiss her. He nodded. "Then build it," he said. "You are queen here. My power is your power." And so Hades gave Persephone a throne of black marble beside his own obsidian one. He showed her the silent, somber beauty of his world, the pale, ghostly asphodel meadows, the silent river Lethe, and the countless whispering shades of the dead who bowed to her. He was not cruel, this dark king. He was patient. He gave her a kingdom, and slowly, the weeping girl, the maiden of spring, began to fade, and a new, powerful and solemn woman began to emerge. The dread queen, Persephone. For the first time in her immortal life, someone wasn't coddling her or telling her to stay safe. Someone was handing her a sword and encouraging her to use it. Meanwhile, back on the surface, Demeter's search eventually led her to Helios, the all-seeing sun, who told her the truth of Hades' abduction and of Zeus's betrayal. Her fury was so great that she abandoned Olympus. She walked the earth as a mortal, her rage so profound that the world began to truly die. The gods, seeing that mankind would perish and there would be no one left to worship them, finally begged Zeus to act. The starving cries of humanity had reached even the top of Olympus. Zeus relented and sent Hermes, the messenger god, with one simple command for Hades: release Persephone. When the message was delivered, Hades didn't fight. He knew the law. If she had not eaten the food of the dead, she was free to go, and he knew he must obey. Hades stood up from his throne, looking somehow smaller, older. He went to her, his voice not of a kidnapper, but of a husband. "You are leaving," he said, "and I cannot stop you. Your mother is waiting." Persephone looked at the open door. She could smell the rain and the wheat. She missed it. She missed the warmth. But then she looked back at the Dark Throne. She looked at the kingdom she had started to fix. She looked at the husband who listened to her. She realized that if she went back, she would just be Kore again. The maiden, the daughter. She would be safe, and she would be powerless. She looked at the table. A pomegranate sat there. It wasn't a trap. Hades hadn't offered it. It was just there. Hades may have been a clever, powerful king, but in that moment he was also desperate. Following her gaze, he seized the pomegranate, and as Persephone prepared to leave, he went to her, his voice uncharacteristically emotional. "But you must be hungry. You've not eaten a thing since you arrived. Will you not eat just a few seeds, as a kindness, a memory of our time together?" Now he offered her the pomegranate, its seeds glowing like dark, captured stars. Persephone, weary and hungry for the world above, but also perhaps feeling a strange new bond with this sad, powerful king, took it. It was the oldest law of the fates. Anyone who eats the food of the underworld is bound to it forever. And in that instant, Persephone made a choice. She didn't eat the whole fruit. She wasn't foolish. She ate 6 seeds. Just enough to tether her. Just enough to ensure that no matter what Zeus or Demeter said, she would have to come back. It wasn't a mistake. It was insurance. When Persephone emerged into the sunlight, the world gasped, Zeus smiled, and Demeter rushed to embrace her daughter. Demeter's joy was a force as great as her grief. Demeter wept, clutching her child, checking her for bruises, and trying to wrap her back in the cotton wool of childhood. The moment she embraced her daughter, the world exploded in life. The snow melted in a single rush. The trees, once black and skeletal, burst into a riot of green. The fields were suddenly, miraculously full of flowers. It was the first glorious spring. But when Demeter pulled back, she stopped. She saw the change. Persephone's skin was pale as moonlight. Her eyes held the stillness of the grave. She wasn't the maiden anymore. She was the Iron Queen. Persephone told them the truth. "I ate the seeds." Demeter screamed. Zeus sighed. Because she had eaten the 6 seeds, Persephone was now bound to 2 worlds. A new deal was struck. Persephone would spend 6 months in the sun to keep her mother happy. In order to keep the balance, for the other 6 months, 1 month for each seed she ate, she must return to the underworld to rule by her husband's side. And so, the girl who had been a maiden of flowers became a queen of 2 worlds. She teaches us that even after the deepest winter, life will return, and that there is a strength, a kingship that can only be found in the dark.
So, when the leaves fall, it's just Demeter missing her daughter, and the world is waiting for Persephone to come back.
Exactly. The world takes a breath and waits for its queen to return. So when the winter comes and the trees go bare, don't feel sorry for Persephone. She made her choice and found a way to have it all. The love of the sun and the power of the dark. She's just packing her bags and heading back to the office. She's got a kingdom to rule. What do you think? Was Persephone a victim, or did she find her own power in the darkness? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed our tale, tend our little hearth by giving this video a like and subscribing for more tales from around the world. Until next time, I am, as ever, your humble storyteller. May your nights be warm, your dreams filled with wonder, and your heart ever open to the magic of a good story.